Namaskar, welcome back. Today we're going to go back to a discourse that we looked at in a longer part a couple of weeks ago. And I said that there's so many interesting things in this discourse that it's really nice to look at some of them in a bit more detail. So the basic theme of this is, it talks about what to me seems the most beautiful reason to do anything, such a wonderful motivation for doing spiritual practice, for doing service. So let's go back to the quote. It's just one very short paragraph. The question arises, if Paramapurusha, the Supreme Consciousness, is taking care of everything, why should you continue your spiritual practices? The answer is that you continue because Paramapurusha wants you to. Only out of respect for that particular desire of Paramapurusha do you continue your spiritual practices. So I've really been enjoying this, trying to put this advice or this ideation, this thought into practice as much as possible. And I found it very, very inspiring and helpful and gives me a very sweet and blissful feeling. So the last time I talked about it, mainly referring to meditation, but it's also a really, really beautiful thought to have in your mind when you are doing kiirtan. So, and I think it's particularly suited to kiirtan because kiirtan is so much about surrender and letting go. So why am I doing this? Why am I chanting kiirtan? Because Paramapurusha wants me to. And when you take that thought, it just really helps this idea of letting go your own reasons or motivations and surrendering to the divine will, which is a lot of what kirtan is about. So try it out the next time you do kirtan and lift your hands and take that thought in your mind. Why am I doing this? I'm doing this because Paramapurusha wants me to. And another part that I didn't mention last time was our second lesson, our Guru Mantra, taking the ideation or reminding ourselves every time we do everything that the person I'm talking to is an expression of the divine, the work I'm doing, the food I'm eating, etc. And they're also taking this idea, why should I ideate? Why should I remember these things? Why should I say my mantra during the day? If you take that thought, because he wants me to, it will add an element of sweetness and beauty and an element of surrender. And what I'm finding is that the more I remember this, the more I realize that I'm whether I want to or not, whether I'm conscious of it or not, I'm always doing his will anyway, willingly or unwillingly. And just taking that thought, because Paramapurusha wants me to, helps it happen a little more smoothly, a little more willingly, with less resistance, with more joy. Because what happens in this universe is all because of the divine will. Everything which is taking place. And a lot of the problems that we have are because we forget that, or because we are resisting that, and we are trying to impose our own will, and which is clashing or, confronting, going in the opposite direction as the divine will. And so we have a lot of turbulence and trouble and difficulty. But if we remember that, if we remind ourselves this beautiful thought often, because he wants me to, and realize that my whole life, everything that unfolded in all my life, in my past life, and whatever will happen in the future is all just because Paramapurusha wants it. It stimulates a feeling of surrender. So that was it, basically. Try it out yourself. Remember it in all aspects of your spiritual practice, your meditation, your mindfulness during the day, remembering your Guru Mantra, your kiirtan, and your efforts to follow the spiritual practices of the yamas and niyamas, our ethical codes. So why should I do this? Why should I serve people? Why should I do some spiritual study? Because Paramapurusha wants me to. And I guess, as I've thought about it a little bit more, I also feel because he wants me to be happy, to be realized, to be one with him, to experience bliss, that's the motivation behind why Paramapurusha does everything. So I hope you find that helpful and inspiring. I certainly am. Have a lovely week. Namaskar.